Thank you, Isaac. And it's a pleasure to address all of you on this phenomenal topic of change. Why and what? In this topic, I want to bring you through some things that might surprise a lot of us. All right, we're going to talk about change to improve. When we talk about this change, we're also talking about change to succeed. We're also talking about changing to be a better person, and obviously change to be relevant, because the world is constantly changing, constantly changing. I want to bring you back and talk to you about everyone wants change in their lives, right? Really? I don't think so. As human beings, we don't like change. All right, it's against our very nature. Change is uncomfortable. Now, I want to bring you back into Roman days, where they realized that if you put two horses together, side by side, and you measured the width of them from behind, they would be literally 4 feet, 8.5 inches wide. That was the measurement. And that was the measurement that decided upon the carriage that was first the transportation for the elite. 4 feet, 8.5 inches wide from wheel to wheel. But with progress and coming into carrying more people, even in the West, from wheel to wheel, that dimension never changed. It was still 4 feet, 8.5 inches wide from wheel to wheel. As it progressed to the first steam engine that was created, the width of the rail was 4 feet, 8.5 inches wide. And even when you talk about whether it was in Europe, whether you talk about US, or even our own MRT here in Singapore, it is 4 feet, 8.5 inches wide. Not much change from when horses were put together. We seem to be much more dependent upon past decisions than we'd like to think. We don't really like changes. We like to stick to certain things and believe that is the way forward. In 1973, Xerox, the team in Xerox, actually invented personal computing. They brought it up to management, and management ignored their invention, their in-house invention. They did not want to change, and they missed out on an era that could have meant billions of dollars for them. In 1990, Smith Corona invented the laptop. They invented the laptop. But again, senior management ignored the invention because they thought it would be opposing the typewriter. And since they were the leading makers of typewriter, they refused to go into this new direction. So they ignored it. Nokia at one point had 50% of the total market share globally. But they didn't look at the changes that were happening in technology. They didn't look at it. They had 1 billion customers. But because of technological changes and the competition, they lost out. Today, Nokia doesn't feature at all amongst the top mobile phone players in the world. BlackBerry came up with a novel concept of putting keyboard onto a phone, and they got 10% of the business community of mobile phone owners. But again, they ignored the trends and changes as they were happening. And today, they again are no longer. I don't know whether many of you would know this, but your parents would. Kodak used to produce films, and that was the way people took photographs. But with digital photography technology happening, they did not change with it. Change is never easy, but not changing could mean death. It could mean death. We all have blind spots in life. We all have blind spots, but we need people's input in order to address this so that we can improve, so that we can become better, so that we can be a success. Let me tell you a true story. In 1958, a man by the name of Ferruccio met Enzo Ferrari. Now, Ferruccio was Italian and he made tractors. But Ferrari, as you all know, made a sports car. Ferruccio bought a Ferrari and he realized that Ferrari had a problem with the clutch system. So he went to Enzo and he says, Enzo, you have a problem with the clutch and I can solve it for you. Enzo did not like this input. In fact, he said to Ferruccio, you stick to making tractors, I'll make the cars. You may be able to drive a tractor, but not a Ferrari. He rejected change. He rejected change. But here's where the story gets interesting. Ferruccio's last name is Lamborghini. Ferruccio, angry that his suggestions, his ideas were not taken, began Lamborghini sports cars. And today, it is Ferrari's biggest competitor with luxury sports cars. And in fact, it's only 2% behind market share, all because Enzo did not listen to input. He created a competitor that is threatening his brand. Today, we must have a solution mindset. Ladies, gentlemen, we are besought with problems. Every day when you pick up the newspaper, listen to the radio, you will hear different types of problems. Problems aren't going to stop. What we have to do is people that decide, I'm not going to just talk about the problems, I'm going to find a solution. That's what we have to do. In 1998, this man was asked what he did as a livelihood. And he said, I sell books. But as time went by, he realized that he needed to change. He needed to reinvent himself. He changed his clothes, he changed his hairstyle, he changed his outlook, he changed his business. Jeffrey Bezos is an internet entrepreneur, best known as the CEO of Amazon. Net worth today, 178.2 billion USD. He changed. Take a look at this picture, how much he changed. When you change what you do, you eventually change what you are. Jeffrey Bezos in 1998 said, I sell books. In 2017, he was asked the same question, what do you do? And he said, I sell whatever I want. Change, something we need to embrace. Oprah Winfrey said, The greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change his or her future by merely changing their attitude. All right? Changing our attitude. Now, many of you would never have heard this name, Ravel Morrison. But Sir Alex Ferguson said he was the most talented ever teenager that he had ever managed or seen. More talented than Cantona, Beckham, Giggs, Pogba, anyone on the face of football. He represented England at youth level. He represented Manchester United at youth level, but he didn't change his behavior. He didn't change his value system. And he started going from one team to another team to another team, and he never realized his potential. Today, he's not playing for any major team. He's still playing football. But the thing is, all the players he grew up with who weren't as talented, weren't as skillful, Pogba couldn't even hold a light to his candle, are well ahead of him, all because he refused to change. We will always change. Whether it's for better or for worse, that is going to be determined by you, by you. Every day we are called to change, but you determine whether it's for the better or for the worse. Our national hero, Joseph Schooling, a fellow ACS boy, at a very young age, he met his idol, Michael Phelps, and determined that he wanted to become an Olympic gold winner. He shared that dream with his mother and his father, and they changed his routine, his diet, his appetite, the way he trained. Everything revolved around this goal. And at one point in his life, he realized in order to get this goal realized, he had to leave Singapore. So he went to Texas because he needed an environment. He needed a culture of other people that had that similar goal of becoming Olympic gold medalists, and a coach that would commit himself to that. And they spent money, they changed, and it was difficult for him. But with that change came his success. Change equals growth. If you don't change, you don't grow. It's as simple as that. Change equals growth. Jack Ma, the founder and chairman of Alibaba, net worth today, $48.1 billion. His whole story is a life of rejection, and yet he kept trying. He realized education was key, and he took the test, and he failed twice and only passed it on his third time. Became a school teacher, and then decided he needed corporate experience and applied for jobs, even got rejected by Kentucky Fried Chicken. On a trip to the US, he wanted to buy a particular Chinese beer and found it was impossible. So together with 17 other friends, he asked for funding and wanted to create an online platform to enable him to create something so that people could buy what they wanted. Then Alibaba, or AliExpress as we retailers today know it, was formed. Jack Ma said, adopt and change. And if you can do this before any major trends or changes, you will succeed. Singapore, as a country, plateaued in terms of tourism. We were around the 6.5 million mark when the question of casino, gambling tourism reared its head again. Lee Kuan Yew, at that time, was a mentor, no longer prime minister, spoke to the parliament and basically said, I was against this, but I think for Singapore's sake, we need to change. And that simple change of allowing casino business to come into Singapore, I'm not here to debate whether it's good or bad, but that simple change meant $6 billion extra every year, and us hitting 10 million plus tourists a year. Change. Walt Disney was working for a newspaper, and this newspaper said he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. So he left them. He changed, and he started Walt Disney in terms of both first a amusement park, and then entertainment, and then hotels, and then timeshare, constantly changing. All right. To improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. That is what Winston Churchill said. To be perfect is to change often, because we've never changed to the point where we don't need to change again. Michael Dell said, the point is you can't be doing the same thing and expect it to keep working. All of us are facing the pandemic. Take a look at the companies whose business have not gone down because of what changes they've made. NTUC, Red Mart, Sheng Siong, and a whole bunch of other companies have all introduced online and delivery services, and they're one of the few companies whose business has not gone down. In fact, it has picked up. They've made more money in this pandemic than they've ever made in their lives. Change to win. Now, you cannot spell challenge without change. And when you change, you are taking on your challenge. Then you can address that challenge. Now, the Japanese have an interesting word, and that word is kaizen, which means continuous improvement. Kai means change, and zen means good. Let me share with you another story, a very quick one. A sashimi restaurant passed its business to the third generation, to their grandson called Kaito-san. And Kaito-san took over the business and realized that business was going down. Business was going down. And he got customer feedback, and the customer said, the fish that is being served, the sashimi, is not that fresh. Now, his company was a vertically integrated company, which means they own the boats that went out fishing, that brought back the fish that was served in the restaurant. And he looked into the process and realized that at the present moment, they were killing the fish on board the boats, cutting it up, putting it on ice, and then bringing it into the restaurants. And he realized that that process affected its freshness. So he decided to change the process and put on tanks to keep the fish alive. But in order to maximize, they put so many fish in a tank that the fish could not move. And they found out as a result of not being able to move, the fish were tense. They were scared. They were afraid of what was the eventual outcome. And it actually affected their muscles and it affected the tenderness of the fish. So he talked to his Japanese chef, and one of his chefs said, the solution is small sharks. So they put small sharks, they put less fish in the tank and put a small shark so that the fish would have to swim around and remain at optimum level. And that brought them back into the best sashimi in Japan. And word got around and business skyrocketed. What do you have to change, adopt, adapt to grow? That is the question I want you to ask yourself. What do you have to change? What do you have to adopt? What do you have to adapt in order to improve? David Beckham, infamous, changing, reinventing, staying relevant. He changed his hairstyle umpteen times and it became a trendsetter. He always stood out. And in an evolving world, we need to be consistently changing in order to be consistently successful. Some of you may know my uncle, Mukesh Ambani, an Indian billionaire, business magnate, chairman, managing director of Reliance Industry, a Fortune 500 and India's most valuable company by market share. His net worth, $77.3 billion, a little more than Jack Ma's. His quote is, dance to your own music. Take some risks in life because it is often the risk taker who changes the course of history. In a nutshell, what Mukesh Ambani was saying is differentiate and change. Oh, by the way, all Indians are related. How do you see people or circumstances? Do you see a front view or do you see a side view? How you see things will determine how you respond to things. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. It is much more important the culture that you adopt than what strategy you employ. Adopt a change culture. Today, if you're afraid of change, you're not going to fare very well in this world. What we need to do is be open to new ideas. We need to be people that embrace diversity and differentiation. Share new ideas. And lastly, take a look at trends, and because of those trends, opportunities. And if we learn to do this before the world does, it will put us on the road to success. Every single one of us today belong to a clique culture. You have one, whether you want it or not. Who determines that? The friends that you associate with. The friends that you associate with. Now, I've learned this. The person that you will become is based on the books you read, the videos, the movies you watch, but mostly the most dynamic force that determines how you turn out is the friends you spend the majority of your time with today. Most of you received this invitation and came in, and many of you did not know who the Navigators was. I want to tell you that the Navigators was responsible for me being the success that I am today. The Navigators formed a friendship with me and helped me in my early days and helped me to change, to become the man I am today. And I'd encourage you, if you don't know who they are, if you don't know anything, be a person that is willing to find out, because it will change your life. You have the power to change the world, to use it to make a difference if you choose to do so. So we come to this most important question. What do you need to change? What do you need to change? There are 4 spheres that basically characterize our life. Physical side of our life. I want to share with you, at one point in my life, I was an unhealthy 105 kilograms and realized I needed to do something about it. And with the help of God, my wife, a new diet, in 2 months, I came down to 85 kg because that physical change was needed to be at my best. And I'm still continuing. I've got 4 more kilos to go. Mental. Remember the quote I said to you earlier. The books that you read, the things that you fill yourself in, have a definite influence on your outcome. So watch what you read. Watch what goes into your mind. Emotional side. This is the part that is kind of interesting. 99% of all your decisions are not based on logic. It is based on emotions. So it's even more important that you realize that the friends that you have, the books that you read, will influence the emotions and therefore the decisions you make. And lastly, your spiritual side. Now, some of you may not believe in a God, some of you may, but I want to let you know that I do. And that God has been real in my life and has helped me. Now, if you've never even considered that, my challenge to you is find out. My challenge to you is find out. Is he real? And if he is real, what is he saying to me? Change is mandatory for extraordinary results. The picture here shows the rawest form of a diamond is a piece of coal that under pressure and years of pressure formulates beneath that coal a raw diamond. And through expert sculptors that cut, reveal the ability for that diamond to shine. So in order for us to become diamonds in life, we need to change. We need to change. My encouragement to all of you here today is get out of your comfort zone. If you want to experience magic, if you want to experience growth, strength, renewed energy, get out of your comfort zone because that's where the magic happens. Making a big life change is scary. But you know what is even scarier? Regrets. Regrets. The changes that you never made. I want all of you to know that today you're listening to a generic message on change, but you are just one decision, one change away from a totally different life. And I want to challenge you to explore that decision, to explore that change. What if I told you that 10 years from now, your life would be exactly the same? Would you really be so happy to be frozen and stuck in time? Very doubtful. Then why are you afraid of change and growth? Why? Who or what prevents you from changing? Now, this is the number one thing that I focus on when I speak to corporations in Singapore and throughout Asia Pacific and the Middle East. The blame factor. It is so easy for us as individuals to blame parents, to blame the school system, to blame the government, to blame the pandemic, to blame whoever and whatever. But the fact is, you hold the responsibility of making the changes that will affect the rest of your life. My great-great-great-granduncle, Mahatma Gandhi, said, be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change. If you're searching for that one person that will change your life, take a look at the mirror and God above. And if you are able to do that, you will change your life. Earlier on, the message on the song by Michael Jackson, in The Man in the Mirror, was a song that I really like, but the words of that song is very simple. I'm looking at the man in the mirror to make a change. And that's what his message was. If you're going to make a change, it starts with you. It starts with you. At the end of our life, it is not how much money we've made. It's not about the possessions we have. It's about the lives we've touched, the people we've invested our time in, the changes we've made happen in hearts, how we made our parents proud and honored God in the way that we lived. One of my favorite authors, my favorite speakers in the world is a man named John Rohn. And he said, if you want to have more, you have to become more. For things to improve, you have to improve. For things to get better, you have to get better. For things to change, you have to change. When you change, everything changes for you. I want to close with these words, which was said by the father of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew. Change is the very essence of life. The moment we cease to change, to be able to adapt, to adjust, to respond effectively to new situations, then we have begun to die. So, friends, ladies, and gentlemen, change. Isaac.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Leslie. Yeah, I think that was such a inspiring, also a perspective shifting sharing on change. Yeah, personally, I think I really thought the quote on, when we don't change, there is no growth. Yeah, really. I think that was really very real. Yeah. Okay, so I think we have some questions, burning questions by many of the participants here today. So I think let's move on to the Q&A session. Okay, before we begin, but yeah, I really regret to inform everyone that not all your questions will be asked. Yeah, because there's really an overwhelming response. Yeah. Okay, so let's start off with the first question. Okay, for Dr. Leslie. So as a motivational speaker, what is one statement or words of encouragement that you will always share with the listener?
I think that that is a generic question, but for each individual, it is different. So there isn't a standard answer that everyone is going to be happy with. But my my advice to every single person is change equals growth. And we need to beat fear by taking that change. And if we are willing to do that, everything else will fall in place. But don't allow fear to paralyze you. Don't allow fear to paralyze you. Change.
Yeah, I think that was very good. Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, I really agree that change really equals to growth. Yeah, when we change, that there is growth. I think that one of the question that another person was mentioning just now was how do we know that the changes that we make are the correct one? Like for example, just now in your example, right, about the computer and laptop, maybe who knows whether that was really a good change forward. Yeah, because they couldn't see like foresight or in the future they don't have like a future superpower like in the future this MacBook will definitely make millions of dollars and all that. Yeah, so how do we know what are the right choices of changes that we are making today?
I think there's two things that come up when you look at changes to be made. Now, as as a Christian, I pray about everything. And God gives me wisdom on changes that I need to be made, that changes that I need to make. So sometimes it is always good to have a reference point on changes to be made. Now, a lot of students do not seek parental advice, and yet your parents have a lot of wisdom. And people who are older, who have seen a little bit more life, they can be people that are instrumental on some of the changes that you need to do. So I encourage you to not shy away from asking people who have seen more of life, who are more experienced, and present them with some of the thoughts or some of the things you are thinking about and get input. But don't necessarily just go to one person, go to a good source of people that you respect and that you hold them in good stead and ask them for input. Ask them for input.
Okay, so what you're saying is we should really ask for advice from people that are really much more experienced than us before we really make a decision to change something part of our life. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, but over here I also have another question, and here the person was saying, what if we make some changes in our life, and then after that we start to regret them when really it happens out, and oh no, wow, why did I even make this change? Then doesn't that mean that that decision that I made for changing wasn't good for me?
Changes are like traveling on an express highway. All right, they're the express highway. Yes, maybe you made a wrong turn. Guess what? There are U-turns. There are exits that will lead us back onto that express highway. You make one change and maybe you've made the wrong change, or maybe it was the wrong decision, but that does not negate making a U-turn or a different decision that will bring you back into alignment. So treat life as this super express highway, and you have to be willing to make those changes along it. If it was the wrong exit, get back onto the highway. All right, get back onto the highway. Life isn't such that one change and that's it. That's it. No, it is a series of changes. And if we make the wrong decision, have the guts to admit it and find the way back onto the highway.
Nice, nice. I like the answer. Yeah, I also agree. Yeah, isn't because of one decision that makes us fail forever, like we are doomed forever. Oh no, you know. Yeah. Okay. I think I have this question that I thought, wow, it was quite interesting because you were mentioning just now about about your faith also, and how God also helps you to make decisions. Yeah,
Yes.
and this person was asking, what if I don't believe in God? Does that mean that I can never change?
Change is an individual freedom of choice, and God gives you freedom of choice. You can always change, but what I am saying to you is I want to challenge the person that says, I don't believe in God. All right. I want to challenge you to find out who that God is. But when it comes to change, does that mean that only people who believe in God change? No, of course not. We all change. But if you have someone that can show you the right way, that can speak to you daily, that can tell you this is the change that you should make. Hey, I've been here since the beginning of time. I know what I'm talking about. And you want to ignore that advice? Duh. I think you better think again. So, do you need to have God to make changes? No. But can God help you make the right changes and it become a faster route to the success that you can enjoy? I believe that. I believe that.
Nice, nice. Okay. Uh, yeah, I have a question over here which is asking, I think it's more personal. The person
Okay.
was asking, could you share some significant changes in your life that changed your life totally? Yeah.
Okay. I'll try and share not just one, but a few. When I was in my final semester at the University of Hawaii, I decided that I was going to propose to my girlfriend in my final semester. My parents thought I was nuts. My siblings thought I was nuts. But my ministry leaders and everyone that I respected, who I sought counsel with, all said, yeah, go for it. But I needed to have a few things that fell into place in order for that plan to be executed. And I said to God, if you want me to marry this woman, then you got to give me a job.
Oh, so sorry. I think we have some technical difficulties here.
Where I was going to end up in terms of the track, I knew all of this. And I didn't just have one job, I had a choice of three different jobs. And it was a situation where, again, I laid that before God and said, which one? So I made a change in terms of my status from singlehood to married life. I made a change, and my first job was not back in Singapore, it was in Atlanta, Georgia. I made a change in terms of my living situation. I made a change in terms of my friends, my culture, my environment. I made a change in terms of my entire life. And that was the first significant change. The second significant change, which happened several years down the road, was to stop working for corporate companies, to stop working for another organization, which I must say to you, by God's grace, I did very well. I was extremely successful, top of the ladder for the corporate companies that I worked for. But I was convinced that God was leading me to work for myself, to start a company from scratch, a brand new company, a brand new direction, a brand new business, and trust Him. So without knowing where I was going to get my new income from, the next dollar from, I quit a high-paying corporate job with fantastic perks and benefits and started out on my own. And the two criteria that helped me decide that was, number one, time. Time to give back to God, time to give back to my family. And two, the ability to trust the person who was leading me to do this. And I did that change. And I did that change. So I'm going to stop with just those two changes, unless people want to dive even further in. But those are two significant changes, but they were major changes in my life.
Yeah, I think we can just stay here for 2 hours to just listen to you talking about the changes in your life. Yeah. But we have so many questions. Yeah, very good questions also. Yeah, I think this is quite relatable also. This person was just asking, how do I know that I changed? And how do I I would like to really change for the better, but I end up finding myself easily satisfied with situations around me. Yeah, very comfortable with where I am today. And yeah, that's why, the person was also asking, does that mean that I'm adaptable? Yeah.
Okay, all human beings are adaptable. It is in our DNA, but we don't want to change. We are much more happy to stay in the norm, into the comfort zone of not changing, because we are creatures of habit. Can we change? Yes. Well, how do I know that? Because take a look around you. God is a God of change. All right. Take a look at humanity, all the changes that have happened from the beginning of time till now, the inventions that have happened, the things that have changed. Every single thing around us show us that change is something that we can do. But I want to address the one thing that that person asked is this: how can I change? And the one thing I said to you in the quote was, the number one thing that influences us to change is our friends, the people that we spend the bulk of our time with today. So who you surround yourself with is going to make a big impact. Let me tell you something. When I surrounded myself in my pre-U days, in my college days, in my university days, with navigators, with people that had a different mindset, that had a different value in life, I began to change. And I had reflective mirrors to tell me how I was changing. I had mirrors that allowed me to see the changes that were happening in my life that were good. and how I wanted to go down that particular road. So understand that who we surround ourselves with will shape us and make us into the man or woman that we eventually emerge and become.
You're mentioning that friends were one of the major factors that you considered before making a decision to change. Yeah, what
Yes?
are some other big weighing factors that you really consider greatly before you start to take changes?
Okay, this goes back again to my faith, Isaac, and that is the power of prayer and the fact that when I pray, God gives me answers. Not iffy, not I don't know what God is saying. God is very clear, audible, and very distinct in terms of telling me, yes, this is the way and walk ye in it. This is what you need to do. This is what you have to do. This is my direction for you. So that is another of my major sources of changing.
That's a insightful response. Yeah, maybe okay. I think this question will help us to get to know you better also. What are
Right.
some good books or videos that you recommend us for us to expose ourselves to? Yeah, or any things that you frequently watch and read. Any books that you read? Yeah.
Okay. I read a lot of different books. All right. I read a lot of different books. I can't help but tell you that the most exciting book to read is the Bible. All right. And if you're not reading that, I encourage you to start reading it because it's the most exciting book. Every subject matter is in there. But apart from the Bible, there's tons of good books around. I'm not going to go through and give you a list now, but what I will do is I will give a list to the Singapore Poly Navigators. And if they will send it out to you, anyone that is interested, just shoot them an email and they will give you a list of books that I have read that have helped influence and changed my life. And these are some of them are bestsellers, some of them are corporate books, some of them are a variety of books. Movies. I'm a terrible person. I go to a movie and I get educated. I don't just go there for for entertainment value. I watch a movie and I see things in there that apply to life. Um, Robert Redford um, directed a movie, and that movie is called um, The Last Castle. The Last Castle. Not a very well-known movie. It came to Singapore. It didn't last very long in the section, but I have watched that movie no less than I don't know 50 times, 50. And that movie is a movie all about change, all about change. Tom Hanks uh, starred in a movie called The Terminal, about a movie about a real life story about a person that was stuck in the airport and the changes he had to do in his life. Tremendous movie, tremendous lessons. And I can keep going on and going on and going on, but you've got to see the movie in a different way. That's why I say it's how you see things.
Well, no wonder you're a man of such great knowledge and wisdom. Usually, after I finish a movie, I'll just think to myself, yeah, that's a good movie. And then I'll just forget about it. But you're
Thank
someone
you
that,
for that compliment, Isaac. I'll give you the $10 later.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm not someone who will analyze the movie. What are the hidden meanings? What is the thing that spoke to me the most through the movie? I'll just think, wow, today the Avengers Endgame like not bad. The show all the fighting scenes. Yeah.
Endgames is a good movie.
Yes. Wow, I wouldn't expect it from you. Okay. Okay, I think this is my own question. Just now, you were saying that you had this weight loss program. Where you lost how much? How much weight was it? Just in two
20,
months.
25 kilos.
25 kilos. Okay. My question is, what is your daily routine? What do you do to get to that 20 kg weight loss? 25 kg.
Okay, let me give a little bit of background to it. I injured my knee. I
Wow.
injured my knee, and the opinion of the specialist was I needed an operation, an ACL operation. And as I went into studying that, I realized that an ACL operation does not guarantee that your knee will be fine after the operation, nor will it ever necessarily get back to being as good as it was. I prayed about it, talked about it, and I realized that I did not want to go through the operation. Not because it cost a lot of money, no, but because there were no guarantees. But when I read, I was convicted that one of the things that was creating pressure on my knees was my added weight. So I realized that if I lost the weight, it would not put as much pressure on my knees. Now, because of the knee injury, I could not exercise. So the first and only thing I could do was change my diet. So it helps to get a great wife and a wife that can really cook. And so she changed my diet. Now, for many years now, I only eat 2 meals a day. I eat a very good breakfast and I eat an early dinner. So as long as I cut down my carbs, I eat a bigger meal in the morning and I eat a smaller meal at night, and I make sure that the meal is a balanced meal, just by changing that input, just the diet, created literally the bulk of my weight loss. Only about 1 month into doing that was I able to restart exercise, and I started with just walking and doing that, etc., adding it to the diet program I was on, that lost the weight. And I'm now back into full-fledged playing squash two
Wow.
times a week in the squash court. Anyone wants a game, let me know.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So I think moral of the story is get yourself a partner, a wife. No, I'm just kidding. Don't.
The
Yeah.
right partner.
Yes, yes. Okay. I think we have time for a few more. Yeah, just two more questions. Okay. You mentioned just now best BEST, be open to new ideas, embrace diversity and differentiation, share new ideas and trends and opportunities. So, do you have a practical example of how we can put this into practice as poly students?
Wow, that's a challenge. Okay, uh, I'm going to put it in terms of taking a look at your eventual goal as a poly student. So, as poly students, you're not there to become professional students. You're not going to become a student for the rest of your life, although I know a few friends that are. Um, but you've got an eventual goal. You've got a decision that you want to head in a particular direction. So, the one thing I've learned is this: if you know what your passion is, if you know what makes you tick, what you're passionate about, then identify that clearly. And what you read has to be on that subject matter. Someone once said, if you read 25 books on the subject matter that is your passion, you become an expert. Because the fact is, most people don't read 25 books about a particular subject matter. But if you do, you're getting much more information and you're getting a quadrum of information from some of the best people out there on the area that you're interested in, which will only alleviate and help you become better in making that happen, or that career happen, or that passion happen in your life. So I'd encourage you to read, and not read broadly, but read specifically as well in your passionate area. Two, re-examine again the friends that you have. There are some friends that you don't need to have, because not because of anything other than they have the wrong influence on you. They have the wrong influence on you. Instead, make sure that the people that you surround yourself with are the kind of people that will keep you on that express highway. All right. Three, all right, explore. And I'm telling this again, explore a relationship with God. Find out who He is. Now, if you don't believe that there is a God, I challenge you to find out if there is one. And if you challenge God to prove Himself to you, He will. He will. And lastly, take a look. Take a look, and you can identify for yourself areas in your life that don't sit with you, that don't sit well with you. You know for yourself, these are things I don't like about my character, about my life, and I want to change them. And they can be in the four realms that I talk about: the physical realm, the mental realm, the emotional realm, and the spiritual realm. But identify that so that you can systematically work on these and understand that we have to be a balance of those areas.
Yeah, you were mentioning just now to read 25 books on a specific topic. I've never even read 25 books in my entire life. Yeah, okay,
All
but
right, Isaac, you know what
yeah.
the challenge for you
Yeah, that is
is?
my challenge for after this today's webinar. Okay, I think let's end today's Q&A with a question. Last question, which is it true that it gets harder to change as we grow older? And how do we overcome this?
I honestly believe that if you get into the habit of changing, if you get into the mindset that change can be good, that it doesn't get harder, that it does actually allow you to enter into a change mode quicker and faster because you've seen how change has helped you. So I don't believe that as you get older, it is more difficult. But I do believe that if you're a person that has never changed, and you've never ever changed, and you refuse to change, and you are getting older as the days go by, then of course, change is going to be difficult and harder because you've never opened yourself up and allowed change to be a part of your lifestyle, to be a part of your lifestyle. So I say it comes back to your mindset on whether or not you're a person that is saying to yourself, what do I need to change? How am I going about doing it? Do that, then it doesn't get harder, it gets easier.
Hmm. Wow, what a great way to end our Q&A session today. Yeah, let's